Hey guys, I'm Lee Morris from Fstoppers.com, and as you probably know, our video camera of choice these days is the Panasonic GH5, but the Panasonic doesn't have the best low light performance. In my hand right here, I have a Nikon D850, and I have the Tamron 35mm 1.8. I don't usually shoot with prime lenses that often, but when I need to shoot in really low light, I'm definitely grabbing a prime lens. This lens also has vibration compensation. Now, if I was just shooting stills, I wouldn't need vibration compensation at all, especially at 35mm. However, if I'm shooting video, having vibration compensation is a huge help. So this is Caroline. Thank you so much for helping out today. And the concept for this shoot is really broad. I'm thinking of kind of a lifestyle fashion montage, basically some things that we would do if we were just taking pictures, but instead of taking pictures, I'm going to be doing video of you, and then we'll mix it together. Hopefully we'll have some standard speed and some slow motion type stuff. We're gonna be making this up as we go along. The sun has just set, so we have a little bit more time until it gets dark enough to begin. But let's go ahead and start scouting some locations and see if we can find where we wanna shoot. We've moved into a bar for our first location while we wait for the sun to completely go down. And we're lighting Caroline here with like a candle, and then Patrick's over here with a little light panel. There he goes, flicking it on and off. And looks pretty good. All right, Kenny, can we buy a drink? Pretty amazing what this camera and lens is able to pick up. I'm just shooting at ISO 800 right now. I mean, the sky looks black to me, but in this video, we're getting a really pretty deep blue. Now, keep in mind that David is filming on the GH5. He's shooting with a 2.8 lens, which is usually considered pretty fast, but he's having to shoot at ISO 3200, and that little camera really can't handle it. This is a perfect example of why you might need a camera and lens like this to shoot in weird situations like this. You really cannot get it with anything else. I'm trying to come up with cool compositions with like the lighting above her, the blue sky, while getting that front eyelash in focus. The shallow depth of field is so narrow with this lens. Yeah, looking around. All right guys, so now I'm going to try to do a few walking, moving shots. I'm going to add the gimbal. I'm going to keep stabilization on throughout this entire process. I find that it's even more stable when you use both in conjunction with each other. So let's see if we can pull this off. It's almost impossible to tell if I'm in focus. I mean, the depth of field is so freaking shallow. It's kind of luck at this point. All right guys, so another thing that I love about this lens, besides the ability to shoot in extreme low light, is just the shallow depth of field. It's so cinematic. I mean, it looks like, you know, this is a high-end Hollywood movie and we're shooting it with a handheld camera. It's really amazing. If you can get it in focus, I think it looks great. So right now I'm shooting at f1.8, and just to show you guys the difference, let me shoot it at 2.8 and then f4. We'll bump it up to f2.8, and of course we have to double our ISO. Now you can see the background is still blurry at 2.8. That background is really far away from her, but I definitely think we're losing something. And let's just see what happens if we go to f4. And man, we gotta go up really high on the ISO now, around like ISO 4000. You can see that we're introducing a lot of grain into the shot too, but I just feel like we've lost so much by losing that shallow depth of field. Certainly not horrible, but man, I really love the look of the 1.8 aperture. All right guys, so that's it. We went to just a few different areas, really right around this parking lot. We went to a bar that we know of, and then we went to the bar's rooftop, and we just walked around and kind of shot in alleyways and stuff. Super, super simple. We made everything up as we went along, really. Hopefully now I can mix it together and make it look somewhat cool rather than just like some lonely girl hanging out by herself. So let's go into Premiere right now, and I'll show you what I'm gonna do with this footage to hopefully spice it up and make it look a little bit nicer. All right, guys, I'm here in Premiere, and I've just got some random clips that I think look pretty good. First of all, I just want to say the footage out of the D850 with this lens is unbelievable. Oh my gosh, this is really the first time that I've filmed with this camera, even though we've owned it for a while, and I am really impressed. The footage right out of the camera almost looks like it's already graded and it's cinematic. I mean, it's really surprising. But anyway, the first thing that I want to talk about is frame rate. I've created a 4K sequence here at 24 frames a second, or 23.976 frames per second. Everything that I shot was shot in 30 frames a second or in 60 frames a second, and I did that on purpose. Like this shot here has actually been slowed down, both of those shots have, because they were shot at 30, and we need to slow them down to 24 frames a second. So you can do that by right-clicking and then speed duration, and I choose 80%. So as you can see, I mean, it's just a little slower than real life. It's at 80% speed, and you can't really tell that it's slow motion, but it just has this kind of magical look to it that I really like. So I try to do that whenever I can, unless of course somebody's talking, then you need to sync up the audio and you don't want to slow it down. Now, for the clips that were shot, like I believe this clip back here was shot at 60 frames a second, I would right click on that, speed duration, and set that to 40%. All right, so let's say that we want to give this footage a look. This is how I would do that. I'm gonna go to Window and then Lumetri Color. And normally I'm working on dual monitors. I have to bring it down to one monitor to do the screen recording, so this is gonna be a little tight. But basically what you can do, I'm gonna create a adjustment layer over here by clicking on Adjustment Layer. I'm gonna drag this on top down here, slide this out of the way, and we're just gonna stretch this across the entire timeline. So what I can do is I can make global changes to everything that's below this adjustment layer, and this is the easiest way I find to grade an entire sequence. So, you know, maybe we want to add some blacks, we want to bump the contrast, we want to add a little bit more whites, and let's say we want to add some shadows, some blue in the shadows, and maybe we want to add some yellow and orange and red into the highlights, just kind of give it an interesting look. And let's see if we can play this back. I don't absolutely love it, but you get the idea. This is what I'm going to do to actually finish this video. Now, this shot right here, where he's pouring the drink into the glass, I've actually created some keyframes to kind of push in or actually pull out of this shot. So you'll notice it starts at 110% scale and it kind of pulls out. I think it, you know, it looks pretty cool. This shot, I'm pushing into her drink, and I just kept the focus stationary and I just pushed the camera in. And because it was handheld, it was a little shaky, so you can see I added a warp stabilizer here. And then to also touch this up, what I've got down here is I've got some different lens flare effects. Patrick actually downloaded these off the internet. I think we bought like a pack for $100 or something. Now, if I move this to the very front and the blend mode set to normal and opacity set to 100%, you're just going to see the lens flare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the blend mode to screen and the opacity down to like 20%. And let's take a look at that. I think that looks pretty cool, and you can also use it as kind of a transition. So maybe I'll have it, the opacity come up right in between a cut, and it kind of masks the cut. I think it'll look good. So that's basically it, guys. Super simple. Let me put the final touches on this and let's check out the finished product.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I think we were able to come up with some pretty cool looking shots, almost completely handheld. We did add a gimbal for just a few of the shots, but
This stuff really would not be possible without a stabilized lens, and therefore I'm a huge fan of getting the Tamron lenses that have the stabilization, even with these relatively wide angle lenses. A 35mm lens usually doesn't need stabilization, but if you think you ever might shoot video, man, it's such a nice feature to have. For more content like this, head over to fstoppers.com, and if you'd like to check out our full-length photography tutorials, head over to fstoppers.com/store.